So I think, the proposed extradition law would have posed an incredible threat to freedom in Hong Kong. And I think that there is demonstrated proof that the Hong Kong protests, when they initially started, were incredibly successful. The fact that the bill was in fact shelved was definitely a positive step. I think, unfortunately, right now, the Hong Kong protesters may be overplaying their hand. At the point at which we have individuals coming in with masks on, actually posing potentially violent threats, actually breaking and entering illegally the LegCo building, among other government buildings, this is fairly concerning. So I think, we have this really tricky situation here where the protesters originally on the side of freedom and very, very peaceful are now turning more to violent ends. And I think that there's a strong need to kind of right the ship and make sure that those who are out there are not there to perpetrate violence, but are there to promote freedom and do so in a peaceful manner. That it would be good to end now. I mean, there's nothing wrong with peaceful demonstrations. If there is a desire to continue to have their voices heard, there's nothing wrong with that. People are free to protest in free societies, and that's fine. People are starting to grate against that one country, two systems policy, but perhaps not just the one country, two systems. They fear for what their country will look like in the future and what they're going to have to deal with when Beijing does actually have the final say in every single aspect of their lives. If the extradition law had been passed, this would have marked a major slide in freedom in Hong Kong. And so it was incredibly laudable that Secretary Pompeo himself issued a statement condemning the extradition law and calling for it to be reconsidered. And of course, we've heard loud voices in Congress also very much so in support of the Hong Kongers, especially when they originally started those protests. But I think as things get violent, people are probably going to have less patience and frankly less sympathy for individuals who are going out into the streets. And so they need to think about that as well, because this is far from the last fight for freedom in Hong Kong. And I think that the Hong Kong protesters should desire to remain in the good graces of the international community.